Look at the time again. 11:11. Not as a superstition, not as a formula, but as a pause. 4 ones in a row. In Scripture, the number 1 represents beginning, unity, God first. What if 11:11 is not a signal of sudden gain, but a reminder to put God first again? Before the wealth, before the breakthrough, before the visible change. Stay with me for the next few minutes, not because something magical is about to happen, but because something meaningful already is. If this moment feels intentional, press like as a quiet act of agreement, not with me, but with God's timing over your own. And subscribe if you're choosing faith over fear in this season. Now let's talk about stability, the kind that lasts. When you see 11:11 repeatedly, your attention sharpens. It interrupts your routine. That interruption can become a spiritual reset. Psalm 46 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness comes before stability. If your finances have felt uncertain, if your future feels unclear, if you've been praying for provision, the first thing God builds is not income. He builds foundation. In Matthew 7, Jesus speaks of 2 builders. One built on sand, quick, easy, unstable. One built on rock, steady, prepared, enduring. The storm came to both. The difference wasn't income, it was foundation. If God is preparing you for increase, He will first strengthen your character, discipline, patience, and discernment. Because sudden gain without wisdom creates pressure, but steady growth with wisdom creates peace. Wealth in Scripture includes wisdom, favor, stewardship, peace, open doors at the right time. Deuteronomy says God gives power to get wealth. Notice that. Power. That means ability, strategy, endurance, clarity. When you begin to think differently about money, calmer, more disciplined, less reactive, that is already a form of wealth being activated. Psalm 1 says the one who delights in God's instruction is like a tree planted by streams of water. That tree does not rush. It does not panic. It bears fruit in season. Season means timing. Timing means trust. And trust is what 11:11 reminds you of, that God is not late. If you felt delayed, consider this. God delays expansion when stability is still forming. Joseph didn't step into leadership overnight. David didn't move from shepherd to king instantly. There were hidden years. Those years built strength. If you are in a hidden year, it is not punishment. It is preparation. You'll know God's timing because it carries peace. Not rush. Not panic. Not act now or lose everything. God's voice does not threaten. It leads. If you feel calm while watching this, that's not manipulation. That's alignment. Press like as a declaration. I trust God's timing. Subscribe as a commitment. I will build on rock, not sand. When stability enters your thinking, you budget with wisdom. You wait for clarity. You decline opportunities that feel rushed. You pursue growth that aligns with peace. This is how wealth becomes sustainable. Proverbs says, wisdom is more valuable than silver. That means if God is growing your wisdom right now, you are not behind. You are ahead. Seeing 11:11 is not about chasing numbers. It is about remembering God first, foundation first, stability first. When those are in place, provision follows naturally. Say this quietly. I trust God's plan. I build on wisdom. I wait for peace. My future is secure in Him. If this message strengthened your faith, like it, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs stability more than hype. God is not rushing you. He is preparing you. And preparation is the most powerful form of provision. When God prepares someone for stability, He often begins by reshaping their understanding of dependence. In Exodus, when the Israelites walked through the wilderness, God did not give them years of supply at once. He gave them manna daily. Enough for that day. No more. Why? Because daily provision builds daily trust. If you are in a season where you cannot see far ahead financially, emotionally or practically, it may not be lack, it may be training. God is teaching your heart to rely on Him step by step instead of trying to secure the future all at once. That kind of dependence doesn't make you weak. It makes you anchored. Scripture says those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be shaken. Mountains don't move when the weather changes. Stability in God is not built on circumstances staying perfect. It is built on knowing who holds you when they aren't. You might have noticed that lately you are thinking differently about money, work, and provision. Maybe you're more cautious, more prayerful, less impulsive. That shift is not accidental. It is wisdom growing. Proverbs teaches that wise planning leads to abundance, but haste leads to poverty. Notice the contrast. Wisdom versus haste. God's timing rarely feels rushed. It unfolds with clarity and peace. So when you see 11:11 and it draws your attention, let it remind you not to hurry, but to align. Alignment means asking, God, is this step rooted in trust or fear? That question alone can redirect your future. Throughout Scripture, God often blesses people by giving them insight before increase. He gave Joseph the interpretation of dreams before He gave him leadership. He gave Solomon wisdom before He gave him wealth. Wisdom is often the first form of provision. If you are gaining clearer judgment, stronger discipline, and a deeper sense of when to move or wait, you are already experiencing divine preparation. That preparation is what allows future blessing to remain steady instead of slipping away. Psalm 37 says, "Trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture." Safe pasture speaks of security, not excess. It's a picture of having what you need in a place of peace. God's provision often looks like stability before it looks like expansion. You may also find that your prayers are changing. Instead of only asking for more, you're asking for guidance. Instead of only asking for solutions, you're asking for wisdom. That is maturity in faith. When your prayers shift from desperation to partnership with God's will, your life begins to align with His pace, and His pace brings rest to your spirit. Remember how Jesus spoke about the birds of the air. They don't store away in barns, yet the Father feeds them. This wasn't an invitation to be careless. It was a call to trust that God is actively involved in daily provision. He sees what you need before you ask. That awareness quiets anxiety. It doesn't remove responsibility, but it removes the feeling that everything depends solely on your strength, and from that place of trust, wise action flows. You plan, but without panic. You work, but without fear driving you. You wait, but without despair. That balance is a sign of spiritual stability taking root. So when you notice 11:11 again, let it remind you of this truth. God's timing is not about sudden rush, but about steady preparation. He is building something in you that can carry future growth without losing peace. What He builds slowly, He builds to last. And as long as you stay close to Him, listening, trusting, and walking step by step, your future is not uncertain. It is being carefully shaped by the One who sees the whole path. Let's continue, because by now you may be sensing that this season is less about striving and more about trusting. In 1 Kings, when God appeared to Solomon in a dream and told him to ask for anything, Solomon did not ask for wealth or power. He asked for wisdom, an understanding heart to lead well. And because his request was aligned with God's will, the Lord gave him both wisdom and provision. There is a pattern in that story. Wisdom came first, provision followed. If God is drawing your attention to deeper understanding right now, teaching you patience, discipline, and discernment, it may be because He is establishing the same pattern in your life. He prepares your heart to handle increase before He brings it. This preparation often feels like restraint. You may feel prompted to slow down certain decisions, to wait before acting, to pray before committing. That restraint is not loss. It is protection. Psalm 127 says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain." When God builds, He builds with order. When we rush ahead without Him, we often create pressure we later have to carry alone. You are being invited into a different rhythm, a rhythm where prayer comes before planning, where peace confirms direction, where gratitude anchors your perspective. This rhythm brings stability, and stability is one of the clearest signs of God's guidance. In the New Testament, Paul writes that he learned to be content in every situation, whether in plenty or in need. Contentment is not complacency. It is confidence that God is present and active in every stage. That confidence allows you to move forward without fear ruling your decisions. You may notice that fear does not grip you as tightly as it once did. You still think about the future, but you don't spiral the same way. There is a quiet voice reminding you, God is still here. That voice is faith growing stronger. Faith does not eliminate responsibility. It changes the way you carry it. Instead of feeling crushed, you feel guided. Instead of feeling alone, you feel supported. When you see 11:11 and it pauses your day, let it call you back to this truth. God's timing is steady. He is not rushing your story, and He is not neglecting it. He is shaping both your character and your circumstances with care. In the parable of the talents, Jesus spoke about servants who were entrusted with resources according to their ability. Ability here means readiness, faithfulness, and wisdom. The increase they received was connected to how they managed what they already had. So look at what God has already placed in your hands: your time, your skills, your relationships, your opportunities. As you steward these with integrity, you are participating in the preparation for what's ahead. This is how divine provision often unfolds, not in sudden leaps, but in faithful steps. Each step builds confidence. Each act of trust builds strength. Each moment of obedience builds stability. And stability is what allows future blessing to remain peaceful instead of overwhelming. So keep walking this path of trust. Keep choosing wisdom over haste. Keep bringing your plans to God in prayer. As you do, you are not only waiting for the future, you are being shaped for it. God's plan for your life is not random. It is intentional, measured, and rooted in love. And as you stay aligned with Him, you can move forward with the assurance that He is guiding you toward a future marked by stability, purpose, and peace. Let's bring this to where it truly settles, not just in your thoughts, but in your spirit. There comes a point in every faith journey where you realize God is not only providing for you, He is forming you. Hebrews says that faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Notice that. Assurance before visibility. That means stability in God begins internally before it becomes external. You may not see every answer yet. You may not have every detail mapped out, but you are no longer as shaken as you once were. That is evidence of growth. And growth is one of the clearest signs that God is actively involved in your future. Ecclesiastes reminds us that there is a time for everything, a time to plant and a time to harvest. Harvest does not appear the same day a seed is planted. There is hidden development beneath the soil before fruit becomes visible. If you are in a hidden development season, it does not mean you are forgotten. It means roots are forming, and deep roots support lasting fruit. God's plan for your future stability is not rushed because He values endurance over excitement. He values foundation over flash. He builds in such a way that when storms come, and they will, your peace does not collapse. This is what it means to trust His timing. It means believing that the same God who provided in your past is active in your present and faithful over your future. It means continuing to steward what you have today while trusting Him for tomorrow. And here is the quiet truth that brings this full circle. When you see 11:11, let it remind you of unity, God first, alignment before expansion, foundation before increase. Let it remind you to pause, breathe, and return your focus to Him. Because when God is first, stability follows. When faith leads, fear loses its voice. When wisdom guides, provision becomes sustainable. You are not behind. You are being prepared. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. And the season ahead is not built on chance. It is built on the careful, steady guidance of a faithful God. So move forward calmly, trust deeply, build wisely, pray consistently, act faithfully, and rest in this assurance. God's timing is not late. God's provision is not random. God's plan for your life is steady and secure. Let that truth anchor you, and when you notice 11:11 again, don't look for magic. Look for alignment. Look for trust. Look for the quiet reminder that the one who began this work in you is still leading you, step by step, into a future marked by peace, wisdom, and lasting stability.